welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour we're going to talk about furry little critters, because I love furry little critters. But before we begin, I'd like to welcome everyone back to school. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Okay, you don't want to listen to me sing. But anyway, if you have any questions or comments about our guests this evening, you are more than welcome to call in at 781-270-9199. Or if you want to think about it, you can always email me at talk@bcattv.org. I love to get mail, and I love to get mail that is not spam. And I would also like to thank the crew here this evening. We have a couple of staff members here. We have Corey McNeil and Mike Duvall, although Mike's been hiding on me, who are some of the staff members here, and they keep the place running smoothly. And we have Colleen Moore, who's director extraordinaire, who's a volunteer here, along with Brandy Sales. Brandy, thank you for coming, and I hope your wife had fun playing sports this summer. And we also have a couple of youngins helping us out today. We have Michelle Shipka and Maddie Shipka. Thank you, Corey, my cue card. And I would finally, last but definitely not least, like to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Hopefully the kids haven't driven you totally insane now that they're all wired from school. So I think I got all the logistics out of the way. Now I would like to welcome our lovely guests. We have, I forgot to check on this pronunciation of your last name, Deanna Gualtieri? Gualtieri. Close. Close, but no cigar. Deanna. And we have Laurie Schultz, who are two of the 6 members of the Northeast Wildlife Animal Rescue Coalition. Yes. Look out, Noah, there's a new ark in town. I saw that in your website. I like that. That was so cool. Hopefully we won't have as much rain as Noah did.
Well, this year we have.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for not bringing all the critters to run around the set and chew all the cables. That we just had another tangent. I'm the queen of tangents. We had our air conditioner serviced, and the guy took the cover off the central air unit, and the squirrels and the chipmunks have made a nice little condo for themselves inside our air conditioner. So, yes. So thank you. First up, could you tell me? You guys get to fight over who gets to go first. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came to this area, and how you became wildlife rescuers, little superheroes with little furry capes.
Sure. I grew up in Woburn, so close by.
Excellent.
And I have worked at Woburn Animal Hospital since I was in high school.
Is that the emergency
No, it's
one?
another one. It's over out of Four Corners in Woburn.
Oh, okay.
So people have always brought us in animals, and since I was younger, I've been taking them in, and finally decided to get licensed once I brought a squirrel to Mary, who's part of our group.
Okay.
She kind of sucked me in. So
It's so cute. Look at those chubby little cheeks. Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah. She said she always needed help with people that were rabies vaccinated with raccoons, and so
So you had to get a
jumped on
rabies
that.
vaccine?
I was vaccinated anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But your real job, because we're going to talk about it later, you guys are volunteers for the coalition? Or is it
Correct.
actually,
We don't get paid
It's
for it.
not a
Yes,
paid job.
volunteer.
Not a
Yeah.
paid
not a paying gig?
Yeah.
Volunteer, yeah. Sucker for hard luck cases. So you have a real job. Where did you go to school? Like, you have an MD, or no, are you a vet?
No,
Doctor,
no.
or
I
you
work
ju-
at the hospital.
Oh,
I
okay.
do-
I just assumed you were a
No,
veterinarian
I'm
and you
not a
went
veterinarian.
and got
Nope.
your
I work as a
doctorate.
receptionist. I do some teching.
Okay.
I just have been there since I was in high school. So,
So you know how to wrangle cats,
yep,
herd cats.
yep.
Which there's actually a Mythbusters show where they tried to herd cats. Did you ever see that one?
I did
It's
not.
hysterical. Okay. Anyway, Deanna, you're up.
I was raised in Billerica,
Cool.
right next door. So.
Local girls.
Yep, local girl. I worked at a local animal hospital, McGrath Animal Hospital, when I was like 15 years old. I started volunteering there until I went to college. And then after college, I lived in Martha's Vineyard briefly, but then I came back to this area and I've just always worked at animal hospitals or rescuing animals. And now I'm the animal control officer in Waltham as well.
Wow. Okay. So you're the person that drives around in the truck getting the dogs that aren't on leashes?
Yep.
We talked to Lowell Humane Society, came on a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the partnership that they have with local control officers to determine what's a dog who, or animals that have just escaped versus animals who are running away versus, stray and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the coalition is a coalition. What does a coalition actually mean?
We basically all we work together
Okay.
as a group. We're able to take in more animals that way because, we all have our specialties.
Okay. How'd you find each other?
I found her through Mary. She met Mary first.
Okay.
She got sucked in with some raccoons.
Because we're licensed with the state, so our name gets put on the Fish and Wildlife list.
Oh,
so we're licensed
okay.
with the state.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's how I found Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just from, we have conferences, stuff like that, training, and we've met there as well. And once I met Mary, she had already met Mary, and we all
okay.
just kind of started working together. And
Okay.
then, the other girls in the group as well. Joanne, she brought me my first squirrels way back when I got licensed. And
Now, do you have like a physical space where you can work on these animals, or do you borrow space or rent space from the places where
we
you
do
work?
it out of our
or-
homes,
Oh.
each of us.
Your pets must love that.
They're not allowed near the wildlife, so.
Do you have like a separate room or something? Or?
I have. We have a lot of pens out in our yards because
Okay.
once they're old enough, they go out there. When I get them in as babies, I have. It's a pretty big house, so I get.
Okay.
I have one room that's for raccoons and squirrels, and the spare bathroom every now and then ends up with something else, or a
Now you-
seagull in the tub.
Seagulls? You rescue seagulls too?
Well, we don't.
Oh, okay.
We do. If I get one in, I'll have to hold on to it until I can get it up to either Tufts or a bird rehabilitator.
Okay.
So
You catch them by, throwing
the
out
tub it
French
goes.
fries.
Yeah.
Here, bird. Here, bird. Now, you mentioned, I'm already straying from my list. You mentioned pens outside. Now, is that a seasonal thing where about now you're trying to find, not really homes, but you're trying to find warmer quarters for them, or
No, we're
are
trying
they able to?
They should all be gone by fall. We
Okay.
try to get them all released by fall. Doesn't always happen. Like, we're getting a lot of late babies in, so a lot of times they have to overwinter with us. So they'll stay in these
okay.
outdoor pens in the winter, in the elements, just like they would in the wild, because they have to
Okay.
learn how to be wild, just like any other one. So
Okay. Do any of them hibernate? What hibernates now locally? The
groundhogs
ducks?
and
And- okay.
chipmunks. Well, chipmunks, they're not true hibernators, but you won't
Okay.
see them very much.
But skunks or raccoons?
They don't
out and
hibernate,
about?
but they can go into torpor, where they can, like, really bad weather, they're not going to come out. Like,
Okay.
I find generally in my woods, if they can't walk on top of the snow, they tend not to come out as much
Yeah.
because it's harder to get away from predators and stuff if they're.
If I can't walk on the
penetrates through
snow, I
that.
generally don't go out either.
Yeah,
I don't
not
have too
fun.
many
And
predators
they're not going to
around,
find
but,
anything to eat, really, if it's that bad. So
Yeah, what do they eat?
Anything.
anything.
Okay, so you mentioned squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, seagulls. Do you ever rescue like the bigger animals, like coyotes? I've seen coyotes come through our
Yeah,
yard.
We've
Deer.
gotten coyotes and fox. Deer we're not allowed to rehabilitate, but
Okay.
coyotes and fox we get in a lot.
What about like birds, other than the seagulls? Kind of.
We don't
have
do
a boatload of
birds. We
turkeys.
we do mammals, but
Okay.
birds we do have. There's a wonderful bird rehabilitator in Gloucester that does birds, so we
Oh.
send them up to Jody.
Lisa,
usually.
one of us just actually picked up a red-tailed hawk just a little while ago, and she'll just keep it
saw
for the
that on
night.
your
And
website.
well, and then she just picked up another one tonight.
Another one.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
we'll
Now-
either bring it to the rehab or
How are they injured? Like hit
Hit
by
by
cars, or
Yeah.
the really stupid person with the BB gun that starts
Yep.
shooting it? Oh.
No, or they
That
fly
just
into
kills me.
windows, or they're just
Even the big
juveniles
birds
that are
do that?
learning. Yeah, I've had a couple hawks that have flown into windows or
Okay.
something.
Because I know like the little birds usually slam into the windows, but I
Yeah.
thought by the time they got bigger, they were a little smarter than that.
yeah, the juveniles right now are not real smart. I had one last week that was carrying a squirrel and hit at the side of a building, dropped the
Oops.
squirrel. and-
Squirrel's probably pretty psyched.
Yeah.
Now, do you rescue like rabbits too?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now-
Jane does bunnies.
we mentioned that a lot of the, okay, we started talking about how are they injured. Is it usually like man-made injuries, or would there be like the
Majority of
squirrel
the
injured by
injuries
the
are
hawk
cats.
that you would help out, or the bunny being, chased by, what chases after bunnies, coyotes or cats? Or
Mostly cats. Most of our
Okay.
babies that we get, 90% of the bunnies are cat caught. Some of the squirrels are, but cats are the big predator out there.
It's amazing how many people still let their cats go outdoors.
Hmm.
Because, the little food chain here, cat,
They're on the bottom
Gets
of it if they're outside near
rabbit,
coyotes.
but coyote comes. Now, what about fisher cats? I've heard about, I always thought it was like a cat, but it's actually like a weasel type thing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's the real name is really Fishers. They're really Fishers. I don't remember how they got cat put on the end of it, but
They sound like a cat. I don't
we
know.
we actually had, were there 3 of them? 3 of
Yep.
them came in this year, little tiny ones that went to Sam out in Winchendon. She's got experience with Fishers, so she took those and raised those.
Okay. Now, how are animals turned over to you? Like if if I looked out my door and my cats do not go outside. This is hypothetical here. My cat decides to bring me a present and, drops an injured bunny.
People go on the website or go onto the internet and
Okay,
search for
like-
rehabber, and then they'll find
okay.
our name on different lists.
And then they call you
Yep, and
guys
they
and you
call
come
us.
out in your little...
No, they bring them to us.
Oh, they bring them to you?
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have like a little ambulance? or
We
anything?
don't. We don't have
That would
time
be
to
fun.
have a little
Yeah.
ambulance. All we're doing is feeding babies all the time,
Okay.
so it's hard for us to go out and pick them up. So
Now,
we're
how do you-
happy to take them, but they
Okay,
have
so
to
how do you
bring them
find
to
the
us.
babies? Because usually like the mothers,
Well, just like you said, someone has found them.
Okay.
Someone has, their
So,
cat
like,
has
sometimes
brought it
the
in.
nests are like hidden.
Well, then we don't have to touch those.
Oh,
We only find them when they're in distress and they've come out looking for food.
Okay.
They've come out because their mother has been killed or something. This squirrel that got hit in the road, all of a sudden
Okay.
they see the babies coming down the tree because they haven't had food and they're cold because mom would be keeping them warm.
Mother's not there.
So then they come out and then that's when the people find them.
Yeah. Well, they call us. We're walking around, these squirrels following us. They're running all up and down us, and
I had
like,
one follow people at
they're
Walmart.
babies. Yeah. If a squirrel's in trouble, baby squirrels, once they're in trouble, they'll just follow anything that moves.
Wow.
They've gone after, and people are walking their dogs, and like the squirrel's like jumping on my dog, and
Mama!
yeah,
You're
people.
furry, you have 4 legs, you
Yeah.
must be mom.
First, people think, oh, it must have rabies. It's coming after us, but it's
Is
really
it walking in a
just
straight line? Now, is that like a good judgment if they walk in a straight line that they're
No,
Not if they're babies.
Kind of look drunk.
yeah.
Okay. Adults, though. Anyway, we've also had foxes too. Do you guys do foxes?
Mm-hmm.
So basically anything warm-blooded and furry and 4
Mammals,
legs.
yeah, pretty much small mammals.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fox and the coyote, we end up transferring again out to a
Okay.
rehabber in Western Mass,
We
but
just don't have facilities to keep things like that. So
Yeah.
we'll keep them temporarily when they're
Okay.
easy and we can bottle feed them. But once
Okay.
they get big,
Until you can find like
Yeah.
some
somebody else to take
either
them
another
in.
rehab place, or a lot of times you said there are possibilities where you can find like an educational outlet for them, and then they can
yeah,
move
but if
over
they're
there.
healthy, they really just need to go to another
Okay.
rehab to get released.
But like I think Drumlin Animal Farm though, sometimes they have like the signs for the birds anyway that this bird cannot fly, its wing's been broken, and it's
Right, and those are the ones that can't be released. So that's
Okay.
why they can take those in with like under an educational permit.
Okay.
They can usually.
Now, does Drumlin have a? I'm just picking on them as an example. Do they have a permit
they
for?
must.
They
Okay.
must.
Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if like you did any work with them.
No, I haven't passed anything on to them.
Okay, because they have like raccoons and I don't know. And okay. Now, partnering organizations. You mentioned that there are 6 of you coalition. You work with animal control officers. Do you work with like humane societies or humane? Yeah.
MSPCA, they bring us a lot of animals. Animal Rescue League brings us a lot of animals. Tufts Wildlife up in Grafton.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
even know Tufts had one.
They treat all the wild animals that are injured.
Okay.
They don't take in orphaned ones, but they'll take care of it. They take care of the
Okay.
injured ones, and then once they're healed, they send them out to us. and
Okay.
we get them.
So I'm just thinking of, I was telling you earlier in the show that my friend's mom, who lives out in Western Mass, had like an albino. She says it was an albino raccoon. I don't
It's
know.
possible. They're
Yeah, I've
rare.
seen
They're
that.
rare, but she
do
says there
happen.
was one wandering around her yard, and she called the animal control officer, who basically apparently didn't give her the time of day. So would her next step be to like call you guys? Well, the Western Mass.
Not if
counterpart
there
of you?
wasn't something wrong with it.
Okay.
I mean, unless it's orphaned or injured.
Okay.
There's no
And
So
just
there's-
because they're
reason
out during
to-
the day doesn't mean there's necessarily anything wrong with
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
Now we talked about you talked about certification, and you're certified with the state Fish and Wildlife.
Yes.
What is involved in a certification process? Is it just like filling out paperwork, or is it coursework, or?
No, you actually have to, you send away to them for a packet, and then you get a packet on all kinds of study materials and stuff. You have to pass
Okay.
a written exam. And once you pass the written exam, then you fill out the application, and, they ask for like your caging, what you're planning on rehabbing, all that kind of stuff.
Now, is there like a recertification process where it's only good for like 2 years or 5 years, or?
We renew every year. At the
Every
end
year,
at the
okay.
end of every year, we have to give our totals, what we raised, whether it was euthanized, whether it died, whether it was released, whether we're still holding it, and
Okay.
and then we just renew it every year. You pay a fee every year and renew it.
Okay. Now, I know I'm jumping around my cheat sheet. You pay a fee. Do you guys have do you get grants, or do you have fundraisers, or what do you do to get money to pay for the food, to pay
Beg.
for the licensing?
We did get a grant. We got a grant to build a wonderful, huge new raccoon pen because we've been getting so many in that we needed more room for them. A lot of it's fundraising and just donations from the public.
Okay.
It's
Got to work on that.
yeah,
Marketing.
Yeah,
Work
a
on
lot
that
of people.
marketing.
A lot of people think we get paid to do it, but we don't. We
Yeah,
actually
it's all volunteer.
work our real jobs to pay for the
Oh, okay.
rehab.
Okay. How, you mentioned that, Laurie, you work with domestic animals, and both of you ladies, have pets at home. How does working with domestic animals compare to working with wild animals?
It's very different. I mean, domestic animals are comfortable with us. Wild animals see
You've
us
never met my
as
cat.
prey. I mean, wild animals see us as predators, so they are afraid of
Okay.
us.
Even the little squirrels
the
that follow
babies
you
get
around?
used
Okay.
to us, but once
Okay.
they get a little bit older, they don't really want anything to do with us, which is what we want.
Okay.
We like to really love them, but we want them to hate us.
And they do by the time they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to actually talk more about that eventually, because you feed them, you give them shelter, how can they not love you? But I have heard that we do have a phone call.
You do.
Thank you, Vanna. Okay. Hi, and thank you for calling.
Thank you. I have a question. If you find a baby squirrel and you go online to give them goat's milk or other food to feed them right when you find them, is that the correct thing to do?
No,
What
Def-
should you do?
definitely not. You shouldn't give them anything until you've consulted with a rehabber first of all, but basically definitely no milk products, nothing from the fridge, not human formula. They should just get Pedialyte if you have it.
We
And
like,
how do we keep them warm?
they need to stay on a heating pad. They need to have a heat source. Most of these babies that have eyes closed can't keep themselves warm, so they have to have a heat source with them. So either a warm water bottle or a heating pad. But most of the animals that we get in through rehab, they've been alone for a while, so they're dehydrated. So that's why we don't like to feed them. We like to.
Okay.
We usually spend about a day hydrating them.
You give them water, or
we give them.
call it-
We actually
or-
give them something called HydroPet, which is
Okay.
It's like
kind of like
Pedialyte
Pedialyte for,
Oh,
for
okay.
animals.
for animals, yeah.
So.
Okay. Now, in response to Lisa's question, you mentioned, keeping them warm. If you have a heating pad, that kind of means you have to bring them inside, right? Or do you run an extension cord out to your backyard?
Oh no, they're all in our house when they're
They're all in
little
your
and
house.
eyes
Okay,
closed,
so
yes.
You guys keep them warm, but me as someone who finds them just kind of gets them in a cardboard box or something and brings them to you, or do you guys tell us how to transport
Well, sometimes
We'll-
they can't
yeah,
bring them
we'll
to us
talk
right
you through
away,
it.
so we'll talk to
Okay.
them about keeping them warm. They can use a water bottle, or they can use a sock filled with rice in the microwave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, sock filled with rice. That doesn't sound real warm to me. Okay, microwave. Got it.
And depending on the type of species it is, we're going to tell you how you should or should not handle it, whether you should, and what to do about. Like bunnies, when you really don't want to touch them if you don't have to, but usually a lot of people do have to pick them up and put them in a box in the quietest place you can put them, away from any human contact, because they're very high stress animals. And some people bring them in the house, the kids are yelling and screaming, I want to pet them, I want to touch them. And then the thing is literally it's just gonna
Yeah.
go keel over and die. They can
Yeah.
die like that from stress.
Bunnies can?
Yeah.
I heard pigs can do that.
No, bunnies can too. They're very high stress animals, and
Lisa, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Any follow-ups?
No, that's great.
Okay,
You guys are doing a
excellent.
great job.
thank
you.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Yay! So, okay, so if somebody finds something, they call you, and can you talk me through an example of, let's say, I find a rabbit,
The
a
first
little
thing
baby
we usually
bunny.
say with the bunnies is put them back, which people don't want to do, because people find the nest of baby bunnies,
Okay.
or their dog finds a nest of baby bunnies, and the way mother bunnies only go to the nest twice a day. So people say, I haven't seen the mother all day. You don't see the mother only comes dawn and dusk. So we tell them to leave them alone.
okay.
People just think they're cute and they want to help them,
Okay.
but the best thing to do is leave them alone. Like Deanna said, bunnies don't do well in rehab. They don't do well under stress. So we tell people to put dental floss over their nest, like a tic-tac-toe board, and that way we can see if the mother's been there.
Oh,
So that way we
she'll
know.
okay.
disturb it when she feeds
Yeah,
them.
when she
Okay.
feeds them.
Hmm.
So the best thing with bunnies is to put them back, and no one wants to believe that.
okay.
And when a bunny is the size of a tennis ball, they're on their own. So people see these little bunnies that
Yeah.
they think
well,
that they
because
need
they're
to be
thinking of domestic
saved.
rabbits
Yeah,
that are,
yeah.
Yeah.
They think they're
Really big.
cute and but they need help because it's alone and it's
Yeah.
out there by itself. But
Okay.
they're on their own at that age.
Well, I'm also, okay, bunnies, we put them back. But I'm also thinking, you were mentioning you don't want the animal to become comfortable with you. Now, I remember back when I was in elementary school, so we're going back to the dark ages here. If you see a baby bird, don't touch it because your scent is that like
a
a
myth.
myth? Okay.
Total
Birds don't
myth.
smell.
Really?
Birds,
they
yeah.
can smell, except for like
Except the turkey
the
vultures and that
vultures.
type of.
Well,
type of
they
bird.
have to
But they can't smell,
yeah.
and mammals don't care either.
Yeah. The biggest
Okay.
problem is that they follow our scent. So if our scent is going to the nest of baby bunnies, that coyote or
Okay.
that fox is going to follow our scent to the nest.
Okay,
Because
so
they know
we're
that people need food.
we're leaving clues.
Yeah.
Okay. So try to leave them alone. But if you had to take them, baby squirrels or baby raccoons, put them in, keep them
Wear
warm.
gloves. Always wear
Wear
gloves.
Okay, like gardening gloves or rubber gloves or anything just to protect, mittens.
Yeah, depending on the animal, with a raccoon, a little baby raccoon is just going to sit there and not do much. But if it's a little bit older and more scared, it's going to be a little bit feistier
little more
or not, depending on
aggressive.
its condition. Not necessarily aggressive, they're just really scared.
Okay.
So, in that case, you'd wear gloves and a lot of times just take a towel, throw it over the thing and
Yeah,
scoop
because I
it
was
up in
wondering,
the thing and
do you
put it in
rescue
something.
skunks? Because
All the time. I haven't been sprayed yet.
I was about to say,
and I do
how many times have you?
No, I haven't been sprayed by a skunk yet, so I do a lot of skunks, a lot of baby
Okay.
skunks. If you
Now-
go slow and easy with them, they only want to use that weapon if they
Not a
really
threat.
need to.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
they probably don't like the smell either.
I mean, I pull them out of window wells at work all the time, and they don't know me. They're not even my rehabs, and it's just like, go slow. You let them know you're there. You just
Okay.
kind of work with them, and up and out, and off they go.
Okay. So let's talk about baby animals for now, because that seems to be a lot of what
That's
Laurie
the bulk
does.
of it.
Okay, that's the bulk of it. Now, you have special food, like the pet Pedialyte,
Hydropet,
whatever it was
yeah.
called. What's it called again?
Hydropet.
Hydropet. Hydrate your pet. Okay, and then, is there other food that they eat?
We get species-specific formulas.
Okay.
Well, Espalac is good for a lot of species. Sometimes it's mixed with other
That's
things.
puppy,
Can they eat,
puppy
like-
milk replacement.
Yeah.
That's what Espalac is.
Okay, so they can eat like dog food and cat food.
Yeah, but most of these babies don't have any teeth yet,
Okay.
so we're
So
feeding
you
them
bottle feed
formula.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or eyedropper?
Syringes, but
Syringes,
Syringe.
okay.
raccoons are bottles.
Okay.
I use Dr. Brown's bottles for the raccoons.
Yep.
They're supposed to be the best.
Yep. They work well with raccoons.
Raccoons.
But they make formulas for each species
Okay.
too. So there's literally a raccoon formula out there and a squirrel
I
formula.
never
And
knew.
So,
So
in the
this
middle
is
of
pretty
rehab season, we
popular.
have possum formula, we have squirrel formula, we have raccoon formula, we have skunk formula. We have all these different containers in our refrigerators for them
Now, what is rehab season?
from April to October.
Okay. So pretty
We're
much
right
the
in the
warmer
middle of it
weathers.
right
yeah, we're
Yeah.
on the second wave of baby squirrels now.
Second wave.
now. Yeah.
Squirrels have
Well,
to-
thank you for taking time out of your schedule to like leave the animals at home and come talk to me. You could have said, "Oh, Linda will come in January." Okay. So injured animals. How do you not get them used to you? Because if you start feeding them, you're their food source.
I find that adults, they stay pretty wild.
Okay. They don't.
I mean,
become
it's
used
not
to
like we're
it.
out there handling them a lot. Like a lot of times, like with adult raccoons, medicating them, it's like you hide it in a marshmallow or some yogurt and leave it out there. I mean, they
Okay.
just,
They're
They-
not sitting on the couch with us. They're out
Yeah.
in the cage and we go out and do what we have to and we leave
Oh,
them. That's
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I, keep thinking of, little baby raccoon in a blanket with the bottle stuck in
Yeah.
him. But
I mean,
no,
if-
it's just holding it through the cage.
we have nets. I mean, if they're bad enough, we have to catch them in a net and try and do stuff through the net. They're not, the adults especially, but I mean, even the babies, once they get older and they're out in the outdoor pens and they're weaned, like now, we vaccinate all the raccoons and
Okay.
We have to net a lot more.
it's
the
a
ones
nightmare.
That we've had since,
Because you have to catch them all, then give them all their vaccines, and remember which one we did. 'Cause, I mean, between us, we
Yeah.
have like over 60 babies a year, just in raccoons. That's not counting all the rest.
Now, do you ever tag them to see if you have? Well, you probably wouldn't have too many repeat offenders if they're mostly babies,
yeah,
but
no.
'Cause
we
what-
pretty much know them apart. If one of
Okay.
them comes back injured, we can
okay.
tell who they are.
Really?
Yeah.
Fingerprint.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. So, I'm just reading my cheat sheets here. Do you ever, okay, we talked a little bit about this before. So most of the animals that you rescue are orphaned. Do you ever have people who try keeping wild animals as pets? Because skunks are just so cute, or raccoons are so, and especially now with Guardians of the Galaxy, you got the raccoon as the
Yeah.
main character. And do you
We
have?
usually get them after a year when they've become pretty wild and
Okay.
they can't handle them anymore. And then it's really hard for us to get them to go into any of our cages and to be
Okay.
able to let them go again. That's when it's really hard.
So, can they eventually be released back in the wild?
Some of them can, yeah.
Okay. Because I mentioned to you, like when I lived down in Florida, somebody had a panther as a pet and they got it declawed.
Yeah, I mean, if that were the
So,
case,
I
we
mean-
wouldn't be able to let it go back into the
Okay.
wild. But
So hopefully you'd be able to find an appropriate educational setting for this animal because the poor thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
out of
not,
its
it's
control.
not its
Yeah.
fault, yeah.
So, what are some of the conditions that must be met, or how do you do you have to train the animal to be able to go back in the wild? Like, do you have to train it how to, find its own food, or is that just like a natural instinct that they'll figure out?
I mean, a lot of it's natural, but yes, with like each species has their own type of pens, and what we put in the pens is to help them learn to, like, we put pools in the raccoon pens, throw grapes and fish in there, and they have to
Okay.
learn to fish for them. And I mean, I always hide the food in hollow logs and stuff like that where they learn. Just
I
all
thought that was
different-
just for entertainment purposes. That's actually educational
Yeah.
purposes. Because this place, I don't remember where it was down in the Cape, but they actually had a couple of raccoons on exhibit, and they said they always try hiding the food to keep the animals entertained, and they'll get the bungee cord over the trash can, or they'll
Yeah.
stuff something in a Happy Meal box, and the
Yeah, and with
raccoons-
raccoons that are being kept in captivity, they need like enrichment. So
Yeah,
changing
okay.
out toys, changing the pen around here and there, putting a different log or a different tree in
Okay.
there every now and then, that type of thing. Just They're
when
very
they're
smart
wild, it's-
animals. They need
Oh,
something
yeah.
to keep them
Oh yeah, if they had opposable thumbs,
keep
we'd
them
be in
entertained.
trouble.
Yeah. Well, we already are. They're
Well,
just may as well have them.
So what other parameters do need to be met? Like if you get a whole bunch of babies, do they eventually learn independence and they can go off on their own?
We like to make sure that they can climb, so we have cages that they can climb big trees in, so they're comfortable with that.
Okay. How
You
big
know,
are these cages?
Pretty big. The one that we got the grant for at Deanna's house is a very large cage.
Ginormous.
Yeah.
It's like 10 by 24 and
Wow.
Yeah.
like 8,
12.
8
It's like-
to 12.
Yeah, I think it's 12
Different-
feet high.
That's bigger
So,
than my
yeah.
first apartment.
Yeah.
It's huge. But they need it because
And they
they're
have
climbers.
trees, big tree trunks in there, so they learn to climb the trees. And we found when we let them go, before they had that, they would get out there and they would get sore feet because they weren't used to climbing the trees. But now they can climb the trees and do really well.
Now, when it is time to release them, do you keep track of where they were rescued from and return them to the same place,
We're
or
supposed to go within a 5-mile radius.
5 mile?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's like the forest right on along Route 3 that's supposed to be the landlocked forest. Do you?
We generally do private people's lands because we
Okay.
support them for a little while so that people will help to feed them.
Okay. And what do you feed?
It's kind of like a soft
blind
release.
animal?
We just set them up with some den boxes in the trees.
Okay.
And then, we feed them for about a month and taper it off. And then,
Okay.
then they're on their own. Because
okay.
they start searching out further and further and further.
Okay.
So by the time a month has gone by, they're out and
Okay.
comfortable and we're done.
And then you get round 2 to come
Yeah.
in. Okay, I know we touched upon this, but I'm looking at my little cheat sheet. What happens if an animal cannot be returned to the wild? We basically talked about they might need to be euthanized. They might be able to go to an educational center. Can they ever become pets?
Oh.
Nope. Not in Mass.
Okay.
Different states are different, but in
Okay.
Massachusetts, if it can't be released into the wild
Okay.
and an appropriate place can't be found for it, it has to be euthanized.
Can you bring it to like one of the states that can? No.
They can't cross state lines.
Yeah, they can't cross state lines either.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that question.
Most of what we get in anyway, we know it has to be euthanized. It's,
Okay. Like if something's been hit by a car.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
if it's got a leg broken in 3 places and, okay.
yeah, that can't be fixed.
Okay.
I mean, try treating an older wild raccoon that comes in like that. I mean, they're not used
They're
to being
feisty.
handled anyway. If it was a baby that we've had that happen before. We've had ones that we've released have come back injured, have them in for a while. We're able to treat them a little bit easier because they're not they still kind of
yeah.
recognize, well, you were the mama
And
for
they're not
some
so
point.
stressed. When we take an animal from the wild and put it in one of our cages, it's stressful. But these guys
Yeah.
have been raised with us, so we put them back in the cage. You're like, this is safe.
Oh, yeah. I was
So
here
it's not
before.
stressful. And
This
stress
isn't
is a
scary,
real
okay.
big problem when we want something to heal. Stress is going to
Okay.
have it not heal. So when they come back and they're not stressed, it's much easier for them to
Okay.
heal.
All
So those
right.
times, sometimes we still can't, even if they are one of ours. I mean, we've had to euthanize some that have come back, so.
Now, what would you say, again, I'm throwing numbers at you, do you find it more often than not that they can be released back
Oh,
to the
Yeah,
wild?
yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Okay, so it's only like the rare occasion.
Yeah, we don't have to euthanize a lot.
And if we have to euthanize them, we know right away. So they
Yeah.
get euthanized before we
Okay,
spend
so they're
6
not really
months rehabbing
suffering.
them. Yeah, right.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about orphaned animals for the most part, and we're starting to talk about, the need to euthanize like injured animals that have been hit by a car or have been attacked by a coyote or something. What are the more common injuries that you find, and is there like one species that it is more susceptible to injury?
I'd say most of the injuries tend to be hit by cars.
Or bunnies with cats.
So, yeah, the cat thing.
Especially where I work at the vet, we get all the bunnies come in attacked by the cat.
Okay.
So it's a very big, horrible injury.
Yeah. Yuck. Okay. How might some of them be preventable? I mean, cars, people following speed limits would be nice, but like keeping the cats indoors? Now,
Or put a bell around the cat, put a collar with a bell on the cat, might help a
okay.
little bit. I don't know with bunnies if that'll help, but birds it probably helps a little bit with.
Yeah. The
A
cats
lot
can't
of, a lot
sneak
of the
up.
orphans that we get in, a ton of our orphans are, a lot of it's from trapping, like people that have the animal trapped by a pest control company
Oh,
and have the mother taken
Okay.
away and killed, and then 2 days later they hear something screaming in their attic, and
yeah. It
Oh,
was,
there
you
were
know,
babies up
as soon as you
there.
started talking about that, I'm thinking about, raccoons in chimneys or squirrels in the attic. Do you
We
have
try
any
to
advice
reunite.
for what to do in situations like that? Before they, when they call the pest control person,
call
or
pest
don't
control.
call pest control. That's not your
Call
first
us.
call.
We're much cheaper.
yeah, pest control costs a lot of money, but
Yeah.
we can give them ways to do it where they can just put a radio on or a light on or something. A lot of times
Okay.
it's as easy as putting that up in the attic, and mom will move on her own with the babies.
It saves them money. We don't have to kill the mother and take the babies.
And make sure the animals are out before you cap the chimney.
Yes, definitely.
All of the animals.
Or I mean,
out.
or if you get, there are problem pest control companies that are humane who will fix the whole problem, and that's what you want to ask them: is, are they doing it right? Can you do it humanely? Well, they can evict the mother. They'll fix the hole. They'll take the babies out, and then they'll reunite the babies on the outside. Raccoons want their babies back. Squirrels want their babies back generally.
Parents in
If
general
they can be
usually
put
want their babies
outside,
back.
yeah,
That's right.
when they're put outside and set up, and the area is clear, they usually come back for their babies, and then they'll just take them off to another den site. So,
Okay. Find another chimney.
yeah, I mean, if you really have to get a problem animal control company, it'd be nice to get a humane one that will fix the whole thing.
Okay.
You have some that won't fix the hole, or they won't tell you. They won't even bother looking for babies in the attic, because 2 days later you're going to call them back and say there's something else in there. Oh, what's the babies? Well, for a small fee, we'll come back and get those.
Oh yeah, thanks
And
so
then
much.
3
You're
weeks
too
after
kind.
that, oh, another raccoon has moved in there because they didn't fix the hole they were coming in the first place. I deal with
Okay.
those a lot. Even on the job
Really?
at work, people calling me with problems like that.
So can you flat out and ask a pest control
Ask
agency?
them all
do
the
you-
questions you want. Yeah, you should definitely. You're
Okay.
paying for that service,
Yeah.
and if you want it done properly, you should ask them.
Okay.
Do you fix the hole, or do you have somebody that comes right after and does the hole?
And pest control companies cannot move the mother to a safer place. It's illegal. They have to
Yeah.
destroy the mom.
Oh.
So
If they take it off the property, they kill it. And there are
Ooh.
some that will tell you that they take it away and we have this great place to release it, and they don't.
Liar.
They can't, because they'll lose their license
Ah,
for that. So, but the
Okay.
homeowner feels better about it, and then is a little more willing to pay them to do it because they're not killing it.
So call you guys first.
Yeah, we'll give you better options.
And we say when you have animals in your attic, you have a construction problem, not a wildlife problem. You need to fix the holes
Okay.
because they're just going to go back in,
Okay.
even if you kill them. The other ones are going to move back in.
Yeah.
Vacancy.
Yeah.
It's an episode of Curious George where the squirrel kept going in and creating new holes, and it was the same squirrel, but it was Curious George. Okay, I'm sorry. George is a really good show. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but he's done a few clever things. Okay, you mentioned the busy times of year is April to November. Now, you said phase 1 and phase 2. Is it kind of divided into 3-month chunks, or is there overlap in?
No, it's just like we're on this. You mean like the second wave of babies?
Yeah.
Squirrels have 2 litters
Okay.
during
They have a spring and then a
a
fall.
spring and then a fall litter, whereas some species like the raccoons have 1, are supposed to only have
Supposed to.
1, but lately.
And we all know about bunnies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bunnies
bunnies are
just all the time.
constantly-
So generally, we're done with everything but squirrels by now, but we do get we've been getting a lot of late raccoons.
Now, one of you mentioned earlier that you had noticed that it's been pretty rainy this year. How does that impact? Does that make it more difficult for you, or is it easier if we have like a cold, rainy spring and summer?
I liked it better because I didn't have to worry about my animals in cages getting too hot because we didn't have a lot of that hot stuff.
Okay.
I
Now, are
know
they
in the woods? So
shaded or?
Yeah, they
okay.
are shaded, but still.
But yeah, when it's,
Yeah.
120
90,
degrees in
yeah.
the shade,
Right.
it doesn't really help. Okay, how do you educate? Do you have like educational programs to teach people about rehabilitating animals or what to do?
We do have a presentation that, you know, like a lot of times the Girl Scouts want
Okay.
us to go over, or who else have we done it with?
We did it at a like a retirement home.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm also thinking, you know, now that I'm reading my notes, it's like, I know people are like, oh, the darn squirrels eating all the, you know, just get rid of them all. And why would I want to rehabilitate? You know, why would I want to save this animal that's, you
People
know,
ask us that all the time.
eating my air conditioning unit, and it's, you know, how do you, can you argue with these people? Or do you just smile at them and walk away?
A
And
little bit of both. I mean, one of the main reasons we do it is for the public. You know, the little girl finds a baby squirrel and the family has taken care of it for a day, and then they
Okay.
find us. So we're not going to deny that little girl that we're going to, I'm sorry, there's too many squirrels out there. We can't save this one, you know. So I guess we look at it that we made a difference for that one squirrel.
okay. And that one little girl
Yeah.
who will no longer try rescuing all the baby bunnies on her own. She will leave them alone. And put the little dental floss tic-tac-toe board and just don't play tic-tac-toe. Just walk away. Just walk away. Now, do you ever go to like libraries or anything? You know, do you have any educational programs like for the Girl Scouts? Do you have like a structured thing, or is it more just like tonight where it's just fire questions at me and
I mean, we have like a PowerPoint thing that we can put up, but it always tends to go off on tangents as well. It just kind of guides us through because, I mean, it's a lot of audience participation.
Okay.
Everybody has questions. Everybody just wants to know stuff. So we start out and follow it from there.
and you never bring the little raccoons for
No,
them to
we
feed?
can't. Yeah, no, they have to stay wild. But a lot of it just talks about like the myths, the common myths
Okay.
about smell and baby deer
Okay.
and bunnies should be left alone, and when it is orphaned, when it isn't, what you should do depending on what kind of animal it is and that type
Okay.
of thing. So
Now, did we cover all of the ways of telling if something's orphaned or not? Like the bunnies, mommy only visits twice a day, and the squirrels just
Yeah.
come after you when they get desperate enough. And
yeah, I mean it's different. People should just, if they think it's orphaned or they're not sure, they should call us because we'll ask a million questions to decide. You know, they found a raccoon on the lawn. Well, maybe mom just dropped it and got scared off when she was
Okay.
moving them, type of thing. So it's possible we can try and set up a reuniting box with the baby
Okay.
in it, and she'll come back that night for it. And then
So you
if
could-
not, we can,
okay,
you know, take the animal from there if she doesn't come back for it. It's all different, case by case. It all depends on a lot of variables.
so theoretically, you could just find one baby, because I'm just assuming that wild animals have several in a litter. You know, we had a turkey walk through the neighborhood and had 10 little babies.
yeah.
You know, and neighbor actually rescued one of them from a hawk, which was kind of frightening. Mummy didn't didn't roost at the end of our street for about 4 days. So I think we already talked a lot about this stuff. When does it become necessary to transport? I mean, because you've already identified that this is an orphaned animal. It needs to be transported. What's the time frame, like from the initial contact or the initial phone call that you get to actually receiving the animal?
It's different. The sooner the better, as far as we're concerned, because until we actually examine that animal, I mean, if it's skin and bones, it's been out there for 3. Generally, if there's an animal out there on the lawn crying or crawling out, it's been two days without the mother probably.
Okay.
Because it's not until they get really hungry and start to really realize she's gone, and they start crawling out of holes, and then they're on the ground or they're crawling around, and then people don't find them for who knows how long. So
Okay.
the sooner they get to us, the better.
And as you mentioned to Lisa, don't feed them at all.
Do not feed
Don't
them
throw out
anything.
puppy
They
chow
can't
or-
even have anything until they have to be warm first,
Okay.
because if they're cold, their systems are not working properly. It's not going to go. It could kill them if they get
Now, if it's during
anything.
the summertime, it's generally pretty.
But if an
Oh.
eyes-closed baby can't thermoregulate.
Oh,
So unless
okay.
it's 99, they're not going to be able to handle that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they
I mean,
kinda
it
have-
gets cool at night, so that's usually when they find them in the morning and they're too cold.
Okay.
So
Do they ever have like hypothermia?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
And
a
it's
lot.
not dead till it's warm and dead, because we get a lot of raccoons in. We call them coonsicles because they're literally so cold and frozen that they can barely move.
They're
Kind of like
almost
Captain America,
stiff.
they
They're
freeze.
stiff.
Yeah.
They are. They
They're
really
stiff.
are. They're stiff. And then once we get them warmed up.
Cryogenic raccoons.
Yeah. But as soon as they get warmed up, it's a whole different raccoon, and they're crying and screaming and wiggling around, and then we can
Now, when you
rehydrate them, and then we
Find a
can feed them.
coonsicle, do you put it in a cage to warm it up? So if it does wake up, you don't have
No, these are
raccoons-
little babies.
These are
these
babies.
babies,
These are the
okay.
babies.
I'm thinking,
yeah,
like,
no. These are eyes
Those
closed
guys
babies.
can thermoregulate, so they don't get to be coonsicles. It's just the little babies with their eyes closed that can't keep their body heated. So
Okay. All right. We touched upon this a little bit, but what are different ways that people can be a little more proactive in preventing animals from needing rescuing? You know, we mentioned keeping your cat in the house. Are there,
not calling the exterminator, trying to talk to us first to see if we can get them out of the house safely rather than have mom
Okay.
be destroyed and then we end up with the babies.
because I'm just wondering, like, you know, we like to feed the birds in our backyard and we also throw out extra squirrel food. You know, should I not be doing that because it's just bringing the wild animals closer to that, you know?
There's a couple schools of thought on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it
I
all
won't tell my
depends,
husband
like-
because he really likes to feed them.
Well, see, part of that might be like, well, do you have like really big trees that squirrels would like to make their nest in right next to your house? Because now you're attracting them to the feeders. They're going to
Okay.
take those trees that are right next to your house, and then they may just use that as a way to get into your house.
Okay.
So, you know,
No, they're far enough away from
if
the
the trees are
house.
far enough away and they have to,
But we have, you know, trees in our yard, but there's
Yeah.
a good, you know,
Yeah.
40 feet between. I know squirrels are good jumpers, but, you know, I don't think they can get to the house.
flyers could.
Yeah.
We actually, you know, funny you should mention that. Here we go on another tangent. We live in a split level and we have a deck out on the upper level. And we used to keep a bird feeder on the deck because we used to like to sit in the dining room and look at the pretty little birds go out and, you know, eat the bird food. And then we used to hear noises at night. And we turned the deck light on once and we had 3 ginormous raccoons that are like bigger than my cat, you know, all crouched and, you know, attacking the bird feeder. And then we've also had flying squirrels.
Yep.
We have red squirrels around the house. We have, you know, the gray squirrels.
It's one of those things where if you don't want them around,
So we moved the bird feeder
yeah,
away from the
don't
house.
put the food out, because people don't realize that bird feeder, like, it's not just birds that like that kind of food.
Well, yeah, you see
All
videos of
these
like
animals
bears.
are all
Yeah,
omnivores,
right.
which means they eat everything, which means
Yeah.
nuts, seeds. It's all
Whatever
food
they
to
can
them.
get.
They'll love
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
they'll go for it. So it's kind of one of those things where it depends what you want to attract to your house. Do you want to watch nature, and to what extent?
Yeah.
How much bird food are you going to
Let's
put out
watch
there?
from a
and,
distance, you know. Yes, we did
Yeah.
move the bird feeder. Not necessarily because we don't want the animals, but not
But I
to
mean,
get,
if you're attracting squirrels and
Yeah.
stuff like that in too, you're also attracting predators in, because now they see, oh, those squirrels like to hang out there. So
Yeah.
if you have a small dog or a cat that you let outside, you don't necessarily want to be attracting coyotes to the area,
True.
which the squirrels are going to
But
attract.
we just didn't want the animals using our deck as a litter box
Yeah.
either. It's
I
like,
wouldn't
no, we don't want squirrel
be there.
poop. Let's put it over in the woods. Yeah, so not to get too graphic. I know this is a family show.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there other ways of protecting wildlife or just deterring them from coming?
Well, I think you could protect them, like if you have a feeder out there and you want to feed the squirrels,
Okay.
by giving them a lot of ground cover. If they have to cross a big yard to get to the feeder,
Okay.
that's when they're going to get taken by hawk.
Oh,
So if they
okay.
have some ground cover that they can
Okay.
hide in.
So leave it out by the big, tall trees.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you guys accept volunteers?
We do. We love volunteers. The problem that we have is when we work with raccoons, they have to be vaccinated for rabies.
Okay. Now, can anyone get a vaccination for rabies, or do you need like
Nope,
special?
you can get a vaccination for rabies.
Okay, and that's like a 10-year thing, isn't it?
It depends on your titer.
Oh.
have to
Mine
get
was a
your
lot
titer
longer than
checked.
10 years.
Okay.
So
And it's one of those things where, I mean, some people's insurance covers it, some don't. It's
Okay.
it's very expensive for rabies
Okay.
vaccines.
And what would volunteers, in essence, do? Would they feed the babies? Would they do paperwork? Would they go shopping for the pet food?
All of those things. We
You
would
know,
love
go
Scooping
to
litter
Toys R Us
boxes
Yeah.
and
Oh,
cleaning
scoop litter boxes.
cages
Wow,
and
fun.
preparing formula and getting bottles
Do
ready.
you have to heat up the formula like you do for like human babies?
When we usually have 20 to 30 raccoons on bottles at a time sometimes, and I have 2 big crock pots that I get all the bottles ready, and I put them in the crock because there's so many of them that I just have
Yeah.
to keep them warm, and I bring them upstairs and
Wow.
go through each.
Can you microwave them, or is that okay?
Yep.
'Cause
I microwave
depending-
it to heat it up, then separate it because they all get different amounts depending on their weight. So you have to keep track of
Okay.
whose is whose and what bottle goes to who.
So you could use an extra hand or two.
Yeah.
So is there like a tab or button on your website to become a volunteer?
No, they could just email us.
Yeah, they can email us or just
Okay.
call us. Because a lot depends on their schedules, what they have time for,
Okay.
whether they're vaccinated. Because I do a lot of rabies vector species, because I do
Okay.
mostly skunks and raccoons. So
Okay.
unless you're rabies vaccinated, it's kind of hard for me. So usually if I have people contact me, I'll like send them Laurie's way or Mary's way,
Okay.
because they do a lot more different.
Okay.
I mean, she does raccoons as well, but she
Now,
also
do you
does
need like
possums
training
and squirrels.
in order to,
and
you know,
we
to
kind of
become
do
a
the
volunteer?
training. No,
Yeah,
because
we do the training.
You know, the will is more important than the
Yeah,
experience
definitely.
at first.
that's how everybody learns. That's how we all learned,
that's true.
basically.
Now, would you request, you know, a minimum number of hours a week, or just whatever time you can give?
Whatever
Donations
we
are
can
graciously accepted of old
Definitely.
baby bottles,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what other kind of
bottles.
blankets?
Blankets, dog and
Fleece,
cat
dog and
food,
cat food, yeah.
fleece. We're constantly fixing and building cages, so even like a Home Depot or Lowe's cards or
Okay.
Market Basket cards, because they don't just eat dog food and cat food, they eat
Grapes.
fruits, vegetables, all kinds of
Eggs,
meats, and eggs and
Did you have to
yogurt
cook
and
the meat, or is it
chicken.
just like
Nope,
raw
they get
meat?
it raw. They
That's
get it
right,
raw.
because in the wild they just, you know,
yeah,
hunt.
but
They
I
don't
mean-
pull out the barbecue or
No.
anything.
it's expensive going shopping for them. Once they're weaned and they're on their weaning foods, it's like going shopping for a family.
Now, how do you find out what they would eat? You know, is it just trial and error? Because are they picky?
No.
Not
Okay, 'cause
usually.
my cats are sometimes pretty
Occasionally,
picky.
wildlife, they know. They just, I mean, they eat mice. They eat bugs, everything. I mean, even like red squirrels. I mean, red squirrels eat like mealworms and stuff like that, and bugs.
Yum!
Yeah, things that you wouldn't think that a red squirrel or a chipmunk would eat. They
Okay.
actually sometimes they'll take fledglings and
Wow.
mice and stuff like that.
Okay. So you don't rescue mice?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
And rats.
Do they become food, or, you know?
No, we release them.
Like, there you go.
We
there's
feed,
your, you
so
know,
the mice
food
that
chain.
we feed are already dead. Tufts donates a lot of mice.
Oh, okay.
so
I'm
that
just
we can
thinking, you
feed them
know,
to the wildlife.
there you go. You got your food chain, you know.
Yeah, no
No, that's why we don't do Fisher cats, because the people that do Fisher have to feed them.
live
Live
prey.
prey.
Oh.
Can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We prefer not to.
Ooh. Okay. So someone would just contact you guys on the website to become a volunteer. Good resume builder. You get to work with cute fuzzy animals that need to learn how to hate you.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
And
take-
it would probably help them with taking the exam if they wanted to become wildlife rehabilitators.
It's great for, at the animal hospital, I have a bunch of college kids that come because they want to put it on their resume when they go to vet school. So to volunteer with us is good for them too.
Now, when you go to vet school, I kind of thought of this. Can you get trained as being a wildlife?
After you go through vet school, you
Vet
can
school, okay.
specialize in it at the end.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's just like an extension of.
Yeah.
Tufts that's how,
Veterinarian,
like up at
okay.
Tufts and Grafton, the wildlife clinic, a lot of
Okay.
the vets rotate through the wildlife clinic.
Okay.
So the students rotate through there to learn that aspect of it, and then they can
Okay.
go on to specialize if they choose to stay in wildlife or back to domestics.
There you go. Or they can move across country and deal with different wild animals.
Yep.
Interesting. So, do you have any upcoming fundraisers?
Nothing planned right now.
Nothing
We're too
planned right
busy.
now.
We would love to have a volunteer help us plan some fundraisers.
Hint.
Yeah,
Hint.
Yeah, that would be
everybody's good with
great.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I've already overcommitted myself, and my husband
We
probably
usually
thinks
do
I should be
flatbreads
committed.
every July. We usually
Okay.
have
But we really do need
flatbread,
to do a
but-
winter one, and
yeah.
it's just not something that we
Okay.
know what we should do, but we would love to have someone. If
We're good with the
anyone has any
hands-on with the
ideas,
animals.
Yeah, to give us some ideas.
Maybe not hands-on with the animals. But, okay. Actually, we have like a couple minutes left. Have we not covered? I can't think of any more questions.
I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do want to thank you guys very
Thank
much for
you.
coming and wish you the best with all of your little raccoons and raccoons? Squirrels,
Possums.
possums. Forgot
Skunks,
to talk about
groundhogs.
possums. Possums just, do they really do that whole play dead thing?
They do. Yep.
Kind of like the raccoonsicle.
Yeah.
That's why we like people to call us about them as well, because they're like, "There's this dead possum," and it's like, well, it might not be dead. They really do. Just, I mean, I got
Have
a
you ever
picture
seen
of
the
it at
movie Over
work.
the Hedge?
Yes.
Oh, I love that
I was
movie.
just talking about that yesterday because one of the red squirrels I just got is like hammy. It's just like, they just, they're
Cookie.
they're like jumping beans on crack.
Here, have some soda. Here, have some cola. Yeah.
Never saw it.
Gotta see it. It is classic. It is so good. Now, okay, another tangent here with Over the Hedge. Did you ever see, like, since you've seen the movie, you said the red squirrel is like Hammy. Do you see any other like resemblances?
Oh yeah, I think they pretty
nailed it.
much nailed it. Porcupines. Mary gets porcupines in. She takes porcupines.
Okay.
So yeah, we get a few of them. They're very
remember the
cute.
Is there a possum in that movie?
There's two possums.
there is?
Yeah.
Voiced by William Shatner.
Oh.
So you get the big dramatic.
Yeah. There's everything. Raccoon, skunk, possum, porcupine,
And the
red
psycho
squirrel.
pet exterminator.
Yep. Big bear.
That's crazy. Yeah, the bear. So they don't really eat Pringles.
Oh, they'll eat them.
They'll eat them.
A raccoon would. I don't think
I
a
don't think
possum would.
Nah. Oh, possums will eat anything though. Actually, put in front of it, they'll
Yeah.
eat it.
Cheetos.
Yeah. We don't feed it to them, but
If they find
not to say if
Cheetos.
they found some, they wouldn't eat them.
Now, okay, now I'm coming up with all these other things. Squirrels, do you find yourself, you see the video of the squirrel having to go through the obstacle courses and everything. Do you provide entertainment for that?
We have enriched cages, so they have
Okay.
trees in there, and they'll have tubes to go through and things like that. So yeah, we try to.
Not to the extent of
Not
that.
to the extent
Yeah,
of
no,
that.
no, not an
that
obstacle
they
course.
climb
Yeah,
in,
because we
they
don't have
climb
them
in the
long
vending
enough
machines.
to,
Yeah.
eventually they just end up out in their own.
All right. Well, now we are actually out of time. See, I ended up learning how to stall. Talk about the movies. We're all set. So anyway, I do want to thank you both for coming this
Thanks for
evening
having
and
us.
taking time out of your busy schedule. So now you get to go home and feed the raccoons before bedtime.
Yep.
Nope.
And I want to also thank everyone at home for tuning in this evening, and hopefully you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did. And I look forward to seeing you around town. Have a great night. Good night.